Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel CodeTav Management. So myself CodeTav, and today we are going to master one of the most important concepts in Spring Boot. That's bin scopes. So now this topic is super important and not because of understanding the Spring internally, but also for cracking the interviews and writing efficient applications. Right. So we are going to start with the bin scopes. So what is this bin scopes? So basically, bin scopes, there are mainly four types of bin scopes are there. Okay. Those are singleton bin scope, which is default one. Next is the prototype bin scope, then the request bin scope, and the session bin scope. We will discuss this all four one by one. So this bin scope is basically defines like how many objects Spring will create and how long those objects will live. So basically, it controls the life cycle and visibility of a bin. Clear? So let's start with the most important one. Going to the next slide, that is the singleton bin scope. So first we have the singleton bin scope, which is the default scope in this Spring. So as you can see that the diagram here, so only one instance, that is the Spring container. Only one instance of the bin is created. Okay. So, and the same instance is being shared across multiple classes. So here is class A, class B, class C. Okay. So you can think the singleton scope as a CEO of any company. Okay. We all focus on the CEO, right? So in the same way, this singleton bin scope is being used. So now I'm going to give you one example. Okay. So this is a simple Spring component and we didn't even specify the scope because singleton is the default. That's why we have not specified as well. So now look at the usage. That is the usage basically. So we are auto wearing the same bin twice. One the bin one and next is bin two. And at last we are printing what? The comparing. We are comparing between this bin one and bin two. And what we will get? So we are getting as true here, right? Because the same instance, this bin1 and bin2, both the same instance. So they return true, which means both references are pointing to the same object. Clear? So that's why I have told you this think of like the singleton scope, think like a company CEO. So there is only one and everyone interacts with the same person, right? So as one interview tip, I can tell you like singleton bins should ideally be stateless. Why? Why stateless? Because multiple threads may access them simultaneously. Like many employees can access the CEO, right? Simultaneously. So suppose two employee went to the CEO room and both are talking with the CEO. So in the same way, multiple threads can access the singleton scope simultaneously. Okay. Okay. Let's move to the prototype scope. So here, what is this prototype scope? So this is the opposite of singleton. Why opposite? In singleton, we have seen like for every request, there there is only one instance, only one bin instance. We have auto word here. Again, I am showing you. Here we have auto word the bins bin one, bin two, and we got the true result. So same instance. But here what is happening? This is the opposite of singleton. Every request creates a new instance. Request 1 creates the bin instance 1, request 2 creates the bin instance 2, request 3 bin instance 3. So new instance every time. And I have told you singleton was stateless, and this is used for the stateful bins. Prototype is used for the stateful bins. So as every request creates a new instance, so no sharing at all. For every request, every new bin. Okay. Now going to the code. So here you can see we explicitly define the prototype. So at the rate scope prototype. So now instead of auto varying, we use the application context. Okay. This here you can see this we are using the application context to get the bins. Okay. And when we comparing two instances, like this is the bin one, and we are getting it from that context dot get bin, and bin two also that context dot get bin. Okay, then we have again compared these two instances, and we got the result as false. Why false? Because in each request, new instance is being created, and that's why you are getting the result as false, meaning different objects are being created. So that's why I have added this key point as well, like new object created every time. Okay. So if you will compare this prototype scope in a real life example, I can say like this is like a hiring a new employee for every task. So for each job gets a fresh person. So suppose in your project, suppose there are 3 services. Okay. Now for each service, we are hiring one new team. Okay, so this is an example of the prototype scope. Like suppose service A, service B, service C. Okay, so now service for service A we have hired employee A. So suppose service B we have hired employee B, and for service C we have hired employee C. Okay, service A he will do employee like service A will be done by employee A. Then service B it will be done by employee B, and service C that will be done by employee C. Okay, in that way. So for each task, new bean instance will be created. Clear? Let's go to the next one. So one thing I just forgot, like here Spring only manages the creation. So for each task, you are seeing here like bean instance is being created. So here Spring only manages the creation, but not the full life cycle of the prototype beans. Okay, so here you can see request one, bean one created, bean one instance created, request two, bean two instance, like bean two instance two is being created. So creation mainly it's focusing on the creation part, but not the full life cycle of the prototype beans. Okay, now let's move to the request scope. So now we move to the web specific scopes. This request scope and the session scopes, these are basically like web specific scopes. That's why you can see here at the rate scope value. Here we are getting this value from web application context dot scope underscore request. And for the session as well, you will see value equals web application context dot scope underscore session. So first it is the request scope. So as you can see, one bin is created per HTTP request. Suppose HTTP request 1 and bin 1, okay, is created. And after that, it will be destroyed. And in the same way, for the HTTP request 2, bin 2 has been created. And after that, that is destroyed. So the point is, one bin is created per HTTP request and destroyed immediately after the request completes. Clear? So see, like in the what is the difference from this? The first like what's the difference from the prototype scope? Here, for each request bean instance was being created. So only creation part, no destroy or no further steps we have followed. But and here we are getting this from the application context. Here you can see from this application context we got that one. Okay. And here we this is the web application context, right? Here we are this is web specific scopes. So we are getting it from the web application context. Okay. And after creation, the destroying part also is being done. So let's move to the code. So here we define the web application context dot scope request, right? And inside the controller, every time we hit this API, okay. Suppose this one, this get mapping after that. So here you can see request bean. We have also auto add this one. So see that is in which part? This is in my controller part. So and inside, so in this controller part, every time we hit this API, so a new bean instance is created. Okay, I think it's clear to you. Whenever it's called, after that this request bean is being created. So we are getting it from the web application context. Okay, then we are inside from the controller. Every time we hit this API, suppose this one with that slash test, suppose we are hitting this API, and after that we this request bean has been created, right? So as an a real life example, I can say, like, think of it like a waiter in a restaurant. So suppose one waiter per order. You are ordering a glass of water, so one waiter came. After that, you are ordering your main course, another waiter came. So one waiter per order. And once the order is done, the job is finished. So suppose the waiter one has given you the water bottle, and after that, his that task is completed. After that, you ordered your main course, so another waiter came and he served the main course, and after that, that waiter's work has been done. So the main key point is one bin per HTTP request. Clear? So important thing from this request scope, I can say, like, this only works in web applications, not any standalone applications. So that's why I have mentioned earlier as well, like, uh, there are two web specific scopes. The first one, that is for the request scope, and next one I will discuss with the session scope. So these two are the web specific. That's why these two will work for the web applications only, not any standalone applications. Okay, now let's move to the session scope. So here also you can see one instance per session. So one bin is created per user session, right? And it will be shared across multiple requests of that user. So suppose user session, the user A came, he requested one, the same session bin. After that, it's and user session. Suppose that session is initiated here, okay, and here it's being end. But in that session, suppose this session started at suppose 12 a.m. and that session will be up to suppose 1 a.m. So in this 1 hour session, whenever this user A requested first request, second request, third request, the same session bin will be shared. And after 1 a.m., suppose the session ends, then the bin will be destroyed. Clear? And as I have told you, uh, this is the web scope, like web application type of scope. So here also we have made the configuration like that. We are getting this value from the web application context dot scope underscore session, like the scope underscore request. So just going to the example one. So again here we have defined this with the web application context dot scope underscore session, right? So now within the same session, multiple API calls will use the same bin. Clear? So suppose this is the get mapping with the uh, slash session, this API. So suppose when the session has been created at the same session, suppose multiple API will be called and we will use the same shared bin. Okay. So the point is within the same session, multiple API calls will use the same bin. That's why I have added this point as well, like same bin across user session. So if you want to compare it with one real life example, I can say like this is like your shopping cart in an e-commerce application. So it stays the same until your session ends, right? So once the session is destroyed, the bin is also destroyed, right? Here I have added this. So session started and here the session ends, right? So here when the session ends, you got that your hmm, when the session ends, your bin will be also destroyed. Clear? So yeah. So in this way, I have just explained the four bin scopes. Okay. Some interview related more tricky questions or all those things I will discuss again. Okay. In the next lecture. Okay. So till then, stay tuned. Do like, share, and subscribe the CodeTav management. So support more and more. Okay. We'll create more such videos to explain such good concepts. Okay. Thanks everyone. Bye.